All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, I was recently on my buddy Joe's podcast, aka the Fantasy Football Counselor, and we had a really interesting discussion regarding the New York Jets heading into next season, right? Covered a bunch of different topics. Zach Wilson, the weapons that the team brought in this offseason. What else? The running back position, specifically Breece Hall and Michael Carter, how that dynamic is going to work, who's going to be the lead guy from a fantasy perspective, carries, volume, things like that. And long story short, he sent me over the video clip, right? So the video file to the podcast, and here it is. So I appreciate you guys watching and taking the time. I know it's a little longer, should be around 23 minutes, something along those lines. So anyway, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.
Guys, we are continuing on with the Impact series. Excited to have Ian on from official Jets Central, man. I'm excited to have you on. Ian, what's happening, man?
Joe, what's up, dude? Glad to be here.
Yeah, Ian's a friend of the show. We've worked together, we've talked together, we've networked together, and there's no one else I trust with the Jets other than Ian. So I've got a bunch of beat writers coming on, Ian, but I wanted you because you're an influencer. You talk about this, you breathe this, you've got a YouTube channel surrounding it. All you do is sleep, eat Jets, right? Is that correct? Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, pretty much, dude. I run a YouTube channel called Jetscentral, all things New York Jets, some breaking news here and there, but yeah, it's pretty much bleed green.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about the Jets this year. I never thought I'd say that for fantasy just because of one guy. We'll talk about him, Breece Hall. But let's break down the team. Let's talk about them. Make sure you guys are following. How do they find you to get the breaking news? Just official Jets Central on YouTube. How do they find you?
So it's actually just Jets Central on YouTube, and then official Jets Central on Instagram, and then it's Jets_Central on Twitter.
Perfect. Now let's dive into this. Let's not waste any time. Let's go into it. Let's talk about the Jets. Obviously, you guys had in my opinion, one of the best drafts. You've got some great talent right now. You brought in Garrett Wilson, one of the top prospects at wide receiver, Breece Hall, one of the top running backs. I'm just hoping that these careers don't end with the New York Jets. So I really let's go position by position here. Let's start with the quarterback position. The biggest question we ask here, and everyone's asking, is Zach Wilson up to the task? Does he have enough tools? Has the O-line been improved? What have they done offensively, defensively? What can we do here to help Zach Wilson? Is he ready? Is he the franchise guy? Is he the guy? That's the biggest question. And if not, like Flacco back there, I don't see that being a viable solution. What's the situation here at quarterback, please?
Yeah, so I mean, from an organizational standpoint, right, general manager wise, bringing in free agents, acquiring talent, drafting, right, obviously having the 3 first-round picks, one of those being Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall in round 2. From an organization standpoint, they did everything possible to surround Zach Wilson with talent. We have to look at what the team looked like last season. Worst defense in football, not a ton of help on the offensive line, not a ton of help at wide receiver, virtually nothing at tight end. So you start analyzing the free agency moves. Oh, you go get Laken Tomlinson, one of the best guards in football. That'll definitely help the offensive line. You go out and sign, or number one, you bring back Braxton Berrios, kind of a mouthful, but that was the number one wide receiver as far as chemistry with Zach Wilson goes, right? So bringing him back was really, really important. You go out 2 free agent tight ends in Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah. I mean, they completely revitalized the tight end room, and I think that's going to be huge for the upcoming season. You switch over to the draft, and like you said, Breece Hall, he's going to be the starting running back for this football team. They drafted Jeremy Ruckert late, so I mean, you could even make an argument that Ruckert being selected in the middle rounds by the Jets is an upgrade, right? All 3 players that the Jets have at tight end this year are upgrades over everybody that they had last season. Right. So, again, from Joe Douglas's, the general manager's perspective here, he did everything. He upgraded tons of different positions. Zach Wilson is going into year 2, the same offense. Justin Fields can't say that. Trevor Lawrence can't say that. So I do think that is something to be talked about, as well as the coaching staff, didn't get fired like Urban Meyer, so it's right. Kind of, it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a good way. The coaching staff, it was their first rodeo last season as well, calling plays, installing an offense, developing a rookie quarterback, working with a super young team. So I think all in all arrows are pointing upwards, but I think really the key here is Zach Wilson and, it is on him at the end of the day. So the Jets can only do so much. You can only, lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So we'll see how it plays out.
But is he the real deal? Do you think he's got the potential to be that guy? Obviously, all these moves have happened, but is he the franchise guy, or is this going to be a filler till you guys find the right guy? Or do you think he's got the talent to do it?
Yeah, I mean, from a talent perspective, he definitely has it. You look at the mobility, the arm strength, how he works, even how he talks in interviews. I mean, everything seems to be there as far as what a franchise quarterback looks like. Again, physically, he has enough to get the job done. But we've seen this a lot before in the past, and that's why I'm hesitant to saying, Zach Wilson is the answer because what we saw last season from not only just a numbers perspective, but also an eye test perspective, he didn't really pass.
Right.
Occasionally he would have the throw, he would have maybe one good half, and then things would come apart, or he would start off rocky and then finish strong. I'm still kind of waiting for the closure, if you will. But I think, again, from a talent perspective, he has it all.
So Zach Wilson, again, I'm kind of again on the fence in regards to how good he could be myself.
Mhm.
This is the year that'll tell us. Now, moving on, let's talk from a fantasy perspective. I'm staying away. But for running backs here, here's the big question. I did some math. I'm not a big math guy here, but I did some math here with the New York Jets and Breece Hall, and I just wanted you to maybe give us some insight in regards to expectations. Now, Michael Carter last year was the RB1, 147 attempts, 4 touchdowns, nothing to get excited about. You had like bottom feeders like Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, all these other people come in. So they amassed well over 250. They get 300 attempts combined. The big question is, have you heard any buzz on if Breece Hall is going to be the guy? Because on paper, theoretically, I'd want to run my best player. This kind of hurts. This has kind of happened last year with ATN and James Robinson. James Robinson was pretty good. Robinson obviously performed a little bit more than Michael Carter did last year in his rookie year of the year when he was playing. But now here comes Breece Hall. That's kind of a knock to Michael Carter a little bit, in my opinion. But is Breece Hall going to get 250 attempts, and is Michael Carter going to be shelved? How is this looking? Have you heard anything on this committee?
So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be, like locked in for 250 attempts for sure, but I can say this, the Jets didn't need a running back going into the draft, and they traded up to go get Breece Hall. So
Oh,
I don't think a Joe Douglas ran team is going to take a swing, take a flyer on a running back if they don't have plans to use them, especially if there's already a good one on the roster. We have tons of team needs at linebacker, at safety. There were tons of good players on the board, and they still went with a running back.
oh.
And again, they traded up, so they gave away assets to go up and select him. Okay, so I think that tells you a lot. You look at Breece Hall, obviously at Iowa State. The guy was an absolute animal. He has the size, he has the breakaway speed, playmaking abilities. Can make plays in open field as well. I'm pumped about Breece Hall, and I do think he is going to be the RB1 for this team. Another important thing to kind of think about, the Jets offense is based off the running game. So if that gets going early, then it opens up the pass game later. So I think Breece Hall was brought in, to not only just be the lead horse of this team, but also to take a lot of the pressure off Zach Wilson. And, as far as like a fantasy perspective is concerned, I do think he also helps out in the passing game.
Wow. So Michael Carter, is it going to be like Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt thing? I mean, Brees Hall could do it all though, right? I mean, do you need Michael Carter other than just depth? I mean, really, wouldn't you just be starting Brees a lot more?
And so, yeah, it's actually like a big question, like amongst Jets fans right now. And funny enough, I think Michael Carter, I got to go back to Twitter. It might have been deleted, but I know he put out like an interesting tweet basically saying like, oh, I don't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but it was something about being disrespected. And I don't know what that was referencing.
Yeah.
But, I think, when we just look at the facts, when we look at the players, when we start comparing them, I love both, but I do think Breece Hall is a little bit better. And, because of the organization's move to go up and get Breece Hall, I do think Michael Carter will take somewhat of a back seat, unfortunately.
Well, no, that's good insight. That's how I'm feeling too intuitively. That's how I'm feeling as well. And that was good insight how you said they moved up to get him. They traded, they gave up a lot to get him. That's interesting. That's good feedback. That's the type of stuff we need to hear. And in regards to value, he's coming off typically in the third round. I think that's pretty good value when getting RB1. So again, sticking on to this topic real quick, the big question is obviously Jets suspect. Obviously, last year didn't do the greatest. How is that O line going to hold up? Are they going to be able to create holes for Breece Hall? Is there going to be opportunity for him to really catch and pass and run wild? I mean, that's my concern, right? Okay, yeah, you get Michael Carter or Breece Hall, either one. Are they going to be able to run? Is there room to run? Or are they just going to be stuffed at the goal line and we're going to be seeing like a Saquon Barkley from last year on the Giants?
Right, right. So I think when we look at the inside of the offensive line, it's solid. Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern, and Elijah Vera Tucker, who had a great rookie season last year, who's a first round pick. But right now, it's really the tackle position. George Fant was the team's left tackle last season. Why was he left tackle? Because Mekhi Becton missed the entire season. Becton's now coming back. So right now, the speculation is whoever loses the left tackle job is going to kick over to right tackle. So, there's not that much clarity on the Mekhi Becton thing. Injuries, is he ready to go? Will he look like the same player? Will he get hurt again? His size, there's been tons of size concerns from the organization, and it's just been this ongoing thing. And I mean, Becton is kind of, it's obvious he has the mindset of, hey, I just want to get out on the field and prove everybody wrong. But up until that point, there are going to be question marks. There is going to be somewhat of a lack of clarity. And so really the tackle position is kind of up in the air. One of those guys in George Fant is solid, might not be a top 5, top 10 tackle in football, but he's definitely reliable and durable. But Becton, on the other hand, he's kind of that boomer bust guy. He's either going to play and look absolutely dominant, or he might miss some more time due to injuries, or might not look the same. So it could go either way.
I appreciate the in-depth analysis. Now, we've got a lot of technical football guys that listen to this, but just for like a basic casual fantasy head, if it was on a percentage basis, how much percentage, if you were to give us, we're not going to hold you to it, but percentage-wise, how much better has the O-line gotten? Are they 10% better, 15, if you were to kind of gauge it?
From last season, I would say maybe like 30% better. I mean,
It's
I
not
think
bad.
whenever you add a guard in Laken Tomlinson, coming over from San Francisco, they run the same system, so he's going to fit exactly what they want to do. You look at how many, the winning environment that San Francisco's been in over these past handful of seasons. Now he's coming over to one of the worst teams in football in the Jets. So I think he's just not only going to do a lot like on the field, but also off the field, like for the young guys as well.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking as a listener. That's why. So that's good to get an idea. 30%. Now, wide receivers, I'm going to be staying away completely from this wide receiver core because we thought Elijah Moore last year, great opportunity, did okay. Now you bring in Garrett Wilson, and then you've got Corey Davis, and as you mentioned, Braxton Berrios has got that connection with Wilson. Like, who is the wide receiver one? Can Garrett Wilson emerge? Is Elijah Moore going to hold strong? Who's going to get the bulk load of the volume? If you had to put your money on it, you're betting on black, white, red, Russian roulette, whatever it is. Where are you putting your chips on this one? Because that's what it feels like. And there's a lot of wide receiver cores like this, including the Kansas City Chiefs, where it's like they brought in Sky Boy, they got Juju. It's a disaster. There's no true wide receiver one. Where are you putting your chips here as a wide receiver one?
Yeah, so I mean, this is like all over the map, and you talk to some fans, some will say Elijah Moore, some will say Corey Davis. I think for me, honestly, I'm gonna go with Garrett Wilson because it's kind of like the same point that we talked about with Breece Hall. I don't see the Jets organization selecting a wide receiver in the top 10, passing on tons of team needs, tons of talent, and all of a sudden that guy's gonna be the third option in the offense. It just doesn't really make a lot of
Makes
sense.
sense.
I loved Garrett Wilson in college. I thought he was dynamic. You could play him on the outside, on the inside. He could hurt you deep down the field in the short passing game. He fits the offense. And I think for those reasons, Garrett's going to get, not only just a lot of looks from Zach Wilson, in games, but he's also going to have plays drawn up for him to get him the football. So for me, I think Garrett Wilson might not be like the wide receiver one, like when you think of like a a DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, just an outside box out dominant guy. But I think when we just look at numbers on paper or in a fantasy perspective, Garrett Wilson will be getting the majority of the volume, if that makes any sort of
No, it
sense.
makes sense, and I see him emerging because Corey Davis, years to wow us, we're not really wowed, and then you got Elijah Moore, who was safe and steady last year. Garrett Wilson could definitely emerge. I would definitely go with that if I were to put my chips there. Now, CJ Uzama, which I call Uzama, I always joke around. How do you feel with him? Is he going to get a bulk load of some targets? Is he going to be utilized in the passing game? Any buzz around him being an outlet for Wilson?
So I actually think Tyler Conklin's going to be the tight end one for this team.
Wow.
I do see both of those guys getting similar, similar percentages as far as the volume goes. But I do think Conklin provides more of an upside. And we look at that. I mean, the Vikings were absolutely stacked last year, with guys like Jefferson and Thielen, and it's just a loaded team.
Yeah.
And yet it was Conklin coming down with the football in critical situations. Cousins trusted him enough to go with him on the 3rd and 6s, on the 3rd and 7s. He could hurt you down the field in the intermediate parts, or just a quick little turnaround. Uzama, I like, but I think when you just compare those two guys, Conklin might be a little bit more of a better fit, where I see Uzama more so in the red zone. Um, you know, Short yardage situations, like different packages, Uzama would be brought in. But I wouldn't even rule out 2 tight end sets too. So I think you can't really go wrong with either. But in my fantasy leagues, I think I'm going to be going with Conklin over CJ. But I like them both.
That's good insight. Now, just to recap this, do you think that Breece Hall could absolutely explode, or do you think he'll be, like you said, volume might be, you don't see 240 attempts. Maybe you do, right? Like, I just like, how much upside do you see for Breece Hall? Because that's what excites me. When I look at this offense, I think from a fantasy mind, Breece Hall excites me. Are you really excited to Breece Hall explode? And does he have that breakaway speed to run, explode, and have those big plays? I think he does, but I want to get your opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, Breece Hall, I think, in my opinion, was the best running back in the class. But again, with the fantasy kind of perspective, it's all about the touches. How many times are you being thrown at? How many times are you touching the football? And when we look at the San Francisco 49ers, offense, it's a ton of different horses, right? And we're probably going to see the same situation in Miami. It's not just the Derrick Henry. It's not just the Dalvin
Yeah.
Cook, and
Yep.
then there's just one guy there to pick up like a couple scraps. It's like a collection of different guys with your lead guy, but it's not it's not as big as a drop off to the second guy as far as the carries go. So I think Breece Hall will be the starting running back one. I do think he has all the traits to be a star, the breakaway speed, all that kind of stuff, like you said. But I don't know if the total number of carries are going to mirror maybe a Dalvin Cook or a Christian McCaffrey if
So,
he is healthy, and some of the top 5 running backs in football.
just to wrap this up, where do you see yourself finishing in the division? I'm going to make here a bold statement here, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy. Looking at it on paper, and you may agree, and maybe it's bias from you. I'm looking at the Bills depth chart and their team. I'm looking at your team. You have a better team, excluding Josh Allen. I mean, they've got Josh Allen, right? I mean, but I mean, look at wide receivers. I mean, they've got Diggs and Davis. They're good, really good. But you never know what these young guys could do with the Jets as well, right? With your rookie and running back. I mean, their running backs aren't that good unless James Cook takes a step up. The rookie, Dalvin Cook's brother, whatever. Singletary sucked for years. All I'm saying is, I think the Jets have a good team on paper. I think the big if factor is Zach Wilson. How do you guys finish in the division? How does this play out for you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna say third or fourth. I mean, you mentioned Buffalo. I still think the Bills are gonna win that
For
division.
sure.
Um, you look at Miami, all the moves that they made. I mean, I'm sure with the Tyreek Hill stuff and Jalen Waddle going into year 2. I think the Dolphins kind of are in a similar situation as the Jets, where they have a young quarterback who needs to
Yeah.
prove something, with a young coach coming over from San Francisco, much like Robert Saleh. I think the only thing that separates kind of the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets right now is the overall level of talent on defense and the games that the Miami Dolphins have been able to win over these past couple seasons. Granted that was with Flores, but man, the Dolphins have a lot of things figured out. So I don't want to just write them off and just say, oh, new head coach, they're going to be horrible. New England, though, that's that's the interesting team. Mac Jones lit it up last season, distributed. He was the point guard, did a lot of really good things. But, they lost Josh McDaniels. I don't know. And, I've been proven wrong a ton of times, with my thoughts about the Patriots going into the season. But it's like, when we just play that game of looking at stars on paper, names on paper, the New England Patriots didn't get a lot better, where the Dolphins got a lot better, the Jets got a lot better, and I still think the Bills are elite. So New England is kind of in the gray area for me. But I think for the Jets, to answer your question, fourth or third.
No, that's fair enough. And people are going to twist my words and say that I said the Jets are better than the Bills. Not what I'm saying. I'm saying on paper, they look good in all positions when you compare them side by side based on the talent, especially at the running back with Breece Hall. But again, Josh Allen kind of really supersedes everybody else. As Zach Wilson completely steps up this year, which again, I'm really, really questioning that. So again, he's got the weapons, got the talent. You've got a good team. Breece Hall, I'm excited for. Ian, thanks a lot, man, for coming on. Is there any other inside information that we might want to know? Anything that I've been asking everybody to wrap this up. Anything in the locker room going on? Any connections? Zach Wilson hanging out with more on the sidelines or after work or after practice? Anything going on that we might not know inside information you can
Yeah,
share?
so Zach Wilson has actually been making the rounds this offseason, literally going to different states, whether it's, down in Florida, Tennessee, up in NY with everything. He's been working one-on-one with different wide receivers, and then he's actually going to be throwing or really hosting like an offensive camp for all the different pass catchers. So, I mean, he's really working in the offseason to become, the best quarterback that he can be. But it really seems like him and Braxton Berrios, it goes beyond football. Like they're friends, they're hanging out on the boat and stuff like that. So
Wow.
that connection, like at the back half of last season, really picked up.
Wow. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, Breece Hall just really, really kind of excites me. But again, I've got that uncertainty because of the offense. But you're telling me that the O line's better. They look better. And I think you've got some wide receivers to take some pressure off the run game. So yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I am too. Oh, sorry to cut you off. One quick last thing I do want to throw in there. The defense was the worst in football last year. So, when you look at all the additions with Whitehead at safety and DJ Reed at corner, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, the list goes on. If the Jets could jump up 10 spots, go from the 32nd ranked defense up to 20, 22, something around there. Think about what that'll do for the offense. All of a sudden, they're not down by 14 points, 17 points, where they're throwing it, they're pushing the ball down the field. Now you can kind of lean on the run game a little bit more and have more
Yes.
opportunities. So,
Good point. Good point. They're not always playing from behind as much, right? Hopefully.
right.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, man. So go find Jetscentral, guys, on YouTube, guys. Subscribe there. Subscribe here. Impact series below for the other beat writers. And pleasure having you on. Thank you for being here, Ian.
Yeah, Joe, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Breece Hall, let's go. Talk soon.